Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 p.m. time for the news bulletin on Channel 2. I'm Basma Taha, and starting off with the main headlines of the day. President Sisi attends graduation of Ministry of Endowments second Imam training course. Foreign Minister Abdel holds a press conference with Lebanon's Foreign Minister Raji in Cairo. And Israeli occupation team Palestinians. Welcome back. The news in full. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi took part in a graduation ceremony for the second batch of Endowments Ministry Imams from the Military Academy in Cairo on Tuesday. Addressing the ceremony, President el-Sisi said Imams shoulder the responsibility of spreading true knowledge and the principles of mercy and tolerance. The President also directed the Ministry of Endowments and state institutions, atop of which the Egyptian Military Academy, to lay out a comprehensive training program to boost the scientific, cultural, and moral proficiency of preaching. In his address, the President said these measures would strengthen communications with the society and broaden its awareness while preserving its solid core. President Sisi highlighted that renewing religious discourse meant the need for well-aware preachers who have a wealth of science and knowledge of current challenges. The graduation, which includes 550 imams who studied for 24 months, comes in line with directions by President Sisi, aiming to contribute to upgrading religious discourse, developing communications mechanisms, countering fanatic thinking, and boosting awareness to contemporary challenges. The celebration included showing a documentary on the success of the round and full research of the impact of the encyclopedic knowledge of imams on executing tasks. Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian Expatriates Badr Abdel reaffirmed Egypt's full support for Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and the Lebanese government efforts to regain security and stability in Lebanon. The foreign minister remarks came during a press conference held with visiting Lebanese Foreign Minister Youssef Raji in Cairo on Tuesday. Addressing the press conference, Abdel said that discussion highlighted boosted bilateral ties in all fields and developments in Lebanon in light of the continued Israeli aggression on the country. The foreign minister said the two sides stressed the importance of commitment to the ceasefire in Lebanon and implementing UN resolution, as well as the importance of international support for Lebanon and its state institutions and for reconstruction efforts. Abdel also expressed rejection to double standards, adding that all countries should respect international law with no exceptions. He also highlighted that Sakai rejects the Israeli low regard of disengagement agreement in Syria. For his part, the Lebanese foreign minister hailed Egypt for its full and continuous support for Lebanon and praised Egypt's exerted efforts to stop the Israeli aggression on southern Lebanon. He said that his talks with Abdel also tackled border demarcation with Syria and developments with the refugee file. Arab League chief asserted the importance of implementing the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701, which ends the war between Hezbollah and Israel in Lebanon on 2006. Abul Ghait remarks came during his meeting with Lebanese Foreign Minister Youssef Raji at the Arab League headquarters in Cairo. During the meeting, Abul Ghait urged that Israel should hold its commitment to a ceasefire and withdrawal from all Lebanese territories, and Abul Ghait also renewed the Arab League support for the Lebanese government and its efforts to achieve stability in the country. An Israeli occupation drone strike southeast of Beirut killed Hussein Atwi, a member of the Lebanese political movement. Lebanon Health Ministry said another person was killed in an Israeli occupation strike on the southern Tyre province, without providing further details. Israeli occupation has continued to carry out regular strikes across Lebanon despite reaching a ceasefire with Hezbollah group in November. The Lebanese government says 190 have been killed and 485 wounded since the ceasefire took hold. Israeli occupation strikes on the Gaza Strip killed at least 14 Palestinians, mostly women and children. An Israeli occupation forces airstrike early on Tuesday destroyed a home in the southern city of Khan Yunis, killing 9 people, including 4 women and 4 children. According to Gaza Health Ministry Emergency Service, a separate strike in the built-up Jabalia refugee camp killed 3 children and their parents. The ministry added that the Israeli occupation air and ground war has killed over 51,000 Palestinians, mostly women and children. Yemen Houthis said that U.S. airstrikes on Sana'a killed at least 12 people and wounded 30, with a military spokesperson later claiming attacks on U.S. aircraft carriers in Israel. Other raids were reported in the central province of Ma'arib, Hodayda in the west, and the Houthi bastion of Sada in the north. Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sari said the group launched attacks on 2 U.S. aircraft carriers in response to the latest deadly American strikes. Russian President Vladimir Putin held talks with Sultan of Oman in Moscow, where they discussed Iran's nuclear program and the Middle East crisis. The Kremlin said the talks with Oman Sultan Haytham bin Tariq Al Saud also cover the international and regional agenda, as well as means of developing cooperation in the field of trade, economy, finance, and investment opportunities. The Sultan of Oman office said in a statement that Putin had invited the monarch to attend the Russian Arab Summit, which will be held later this year in Moscow. The royal court said that the visit comes within the context of promoting relations between the Sultanate of Oman and Russia in a bid to meet aspirations of the 2 countries. Russian President Vladimir Putin proposed bilateral talks with Ukraine for the first time since the early days of the war, and his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky said Kiev was eager to discuss a halt to attacks on civilian targets. Zelensky said that Ukraine will take part in talks with the U.S. and European countries on Wednesday in London. The discussions are a follow-up to a Paris meeting last week, where the U.S. and European states discussed ways to end the more than 3-year-old war. Cardinals have taken their first decisions following the death of Pope Francis, setting Saturday as the day for his funeral and allowing ordinary faithful to begin paying their final respects starting Wednesday when his casket is brought into St. Peter Basilica. And more details in the following report.
Cardinals gathered Tuesday at the Vatican to begin scheduling Pope Francis' funeral and burial, planning the conclave to elect his successor, and making other decisions about running the Catholic Church as world leaders and ordinary faithful grieved the death of history's first Latin American Pope. Most immediately, the cardinals will determine when his body can be moved into St. Peter's Basilica for public viewing. The first images of Francis were released Tuesday, showing him in the wooden casket in red vestments and his bishop's philter, with the Vatican Secretary of State praying over him in the Chapel of Dumas Santa Marta Hotel, where he lived. Francis died Monday at the age of 88 after suffering a stroke that put him in a coma and led his heart to fail. He had been recovering in his apartment after being hospitalized for 5 weeks with pneumonia. He made his last public appearance Sunday, delivering an Easter blessing and making what would be his final greeting to followers from his Pope Mumbai looping around St. Peter's Square. In retrospect, his Easter appearance from the same Loggia where he was introduced to the world as the first Pope from the Americas on March 13, 2013, was a perfect bookend to a 12-year papacy that sought to shake up the Church and return it to its gospel-mandated mission of caring for the poorest.
Harvard University announced that it has filed suit to hold a federal freeze of more than $2.2 billion in grants after the institution said it would defy the Trump administration's demand to limit activism on campus. In an April 11 letter to Harvard, the Trump administration had called for broad government and leadership reforms at the university and changes to its admissions policies. It also demanded the university audit views of diversity on campus and stop recognizing some student clubs. And Minister of Finance Ahmed Kojik participates in spring meetings of the IMF and the World Bank in addition to the G20 meetings in Washington. During the G20, Kojik meets his counterparts and representatives of leading financial and economic establishments and international banks. The Minister of Finance is to discuss the current state of the international economic skeleton and its effect on fluency of investment funds and trade in developing countries and Africa. The Minister of Finance also exchanges views on new policies that minimize debt burdens in those countries. Minister of Planning and Economic Development and International Cooperation and Egypt's governor for the World Bank, Rania Al-Mashat, pointed that the visit of the head of the International Fund Institution to Egypt next June is a good chance to review and boost cooperation procedure between the two sides. This came on the sidelines of the expanded meeting of Al-Mashat, expanded with Mukhtar Dayoub, head of the International Funding Institution affiliated to the World Bank, for funding the private sector on the sidelines of the Spring Meetings 2025. The two sides discussed developments in various economic files and means of boosting bilateral ties and private sector participation in development efforts. Dear viewers, by that we come to the end of our news bulletin. Thanks for watching, and that was Basma Taha signing off.